Hey, what's up everybody? It's Kellen here from Starter Systems, and welcome to another MXGP 3 video game gameplay. And today we're going to do the Motocross of Nations, but we're going to do it a little bit different. What we're going to do is ride as the obviously 2016 USA team, because there's no other option that you can have. You know, you can't like go back and ride as an old USA team or this current USA team, so we're stuck with these guys, if that's what you want to call it. And we're going to have a showdown, MXoN style, on Madley Basin. So, not going to be the new guys, but it's still going to be the Motocross of Nations, and you guys are going to see it firsthand and how it looks. So here we go with Cooper Webb, and I'm going to get a terrible start. Obviously doing this video specifically for the fact that the Motocross of Nations are this weekend at Madley Basin, trying to get you guys hyped for it, because I am, oh my goodness, so freaking hyped for it. That was a really big cheater line. But yeah, I'm unbelievably stoked for this race this weekend. There's no other race on the planet that gets me as hyped, as emotional, as I don't, there's just so many adjectives you could use for it to describe how excited and just everything I get for this event. My favorite event of the year by far. One of these days I'm actually going to get down and go to one in Europe. I know that at some point in my life it'll be pretty easy for me to go to at least one in the USA. I haven't ever been, but I do foresee myself going at some point. And I don't know, it's just, I've watched this event for several years. I think the first time I actually ever watched the Motocross of Nations was 2000, Saint-Jean-d'Angely. Just watched the rerun on TV or whatever that they had. And that was the year that it was Carmichael, Pastrana, and Hughes. So it just goes to show you how long ago that already is. I know 2000 doesn't sound that long ago, but it's 17 freaking years. And Travis Pastrana definitely doesn't race motocross anymore. Neither do, well, Hughes still races kind of, but not on any professional level. He does like some local races here and there and whatnot. But yeah, I love pretty much everything about this event. I think the one thing I think that they should rethink about this event, and it's the only thing that kind of makes me think like it's really dumb how they do this, but I get why they do it so that it's kind of fair, is the ping pong draft lottery for gate picks, which happens on Saturday. And it really screwed the USA over last year. Well, I mean, the USA screwed themselves over. They have only themselves to blame. But basically what happens is on Saturday after the time qualifying and stuff like that, and it'll happen again this year because I don't think they've gotten rid of it yet, they put every nation on a ping pong ball and put it in this little spinner, and you know, there's 40 some odd nations that show up eventually. I think last year was only like 35 or 36, but you know, when they can get a full gate, it's 40 nations. And they put it in this little spinner and they just start reeling them off. And like France got gate pick number 5 last year, and the USA got, I think, 32. Could be wrong, but they were way, way back there. And really all that means is for the qualifying race, which is on Saturday, there's 3 qualifying races in each class, the MXGP class, the MX2, and the MX Open class. That is your gate pick for that race. So the USA, with their 3 riders last year, Cooper Webb, Alex Martin, and Jason Anderson, went to the gate 32nd in the qualifying races, while Team France, defending champions, the guys that they were trying to beat for this particular year, went to the gate 5th. So, I mean, they have a much better gate pick. They get to line up down the inside. The USA had far outside gate picks every moto for the qualifying race. And I feel like it really shouldn't have hurt them as badly as it did. It really, really hurt them that I think Cooper Webb actually crashed during his moto. And then Jason Anderson broke his foot, or he did something that hurt his foot by crashing in the first corner of his race. And then I think Alex Martin just got like 4th or 5th, and that's really what like helped the USA mostly get into the event in the first place, because they needed 2 of 3 good scores. And they eventually ended up, I believe, qualifying 16th or 17th, while France qualified first, obviously. And so it really set them back for Sunday too, because that outside gate pick didn't really help them on Saturday, and then it forced them into a bad gate pick on Sunday. And in reality, I don't feel like it hurt them too bad, because every moto except for the second moto Alex Martin raced in, they got good starts out of their guys. Like Martin got a pretty good start in the first moto. Webb, I think, that was the guy they put on the outside. And Anderson hole shot, I think, from the outside in the second moto. So, I mean, it really wasn't that big of a deterrent, but this whole ping pong draft lottery thing that they got going on, like, I get that it adds excitement. It's supposed to be a fair playing field for all countries, so I can understand why it exists, but I just wish that there was like a better way to do it, where it's not so like lopsided. Like, I wish it would be like different. Like, let's say this, for example. This year, everybody has predetermined numbers, right? So France is number 1, 2, and 3. Netherlands 4, 5, 6. USA 7, 8, 9. I think it's Belgium is 10, 11, 12, and then Italy is 13, 14, 15. So let's just say, because there's these superpower teams like USA, like France, like Italy, like all the teams I just mentioned, why don't you put them in a group that is set from the previous year? So those 5 teams, 5 countries, are part of, let's just call it Group A. And those groups go on a ping pong ball to list gate picks in a specific order. And within those individual groups, so like France, the Netherlands, USA, Belgium, and Italy, whichever overall team like has the best qualifying times from qualifying practice, which happens before the qualifying race, gets the better gate pick of that group. So let's say, for example, you have Group D draw first pick, and then Group F draw second pick, and then Group B draw third pick, and then it gets to Group A as the 4th pick. So theoretically speaking, that 5 group of countries would be gate picks 16 to 20. So that way it's kind of fair, because all countries that are like the superpowers, that are reigning champions, that are whatever, kind of get clumped together. The only way that would never work, I feel like, is if you have a situation where, like, USA, for example, when they didn't show up to Namur, I think in 2002 or 2003, whichever one it was, then they showed up the next year. So it must have been 2004, because in 2005 at Ernée, they had number 101, 102, and 103. And so, like, that would kind of suck, because suddenly, like, Belgium, which was the defending champions going into that year, would be part of Group A with France and all these other powerhouse teams. And Ricky Carmichael, Ivan Tedesco, and Kevin Windham, which I think that team was, would be lumped into Group F or G or something like that. And suddenly, if Group G draws first, then the USA has first gate pick, and then France and all these other powerhouse nations get like royally screwed. So that's the only way it wouldn't work, I feel like. But like, just take the previous year's results and then put them into groups. Like, that already kind of happens in soccer a little bit. They have those group stages at like the World Cup and stuff like that, although that is meant to be more evenly split, where like you're actually battling teams that are pretty easy. But you get my point. Like, if the powerhouse teams were clumped together and the backmarker teams were clumped together, I feel like it would be a little bit more fair than France drawing 4th gate pick and the USA drawing 32nd in this particular event. So that would be my idea for how to fix it, so that in some way it's still fair to the quote-unquote backmarker countries, to have a little easier way of getting a better gate pick for these qualifying races, for the opportunity to get into the race, because only 20 countries make it. If there's 38 countries, only 20 make it, and you have to have 2 of your best 3 scores on qualifying day count to get you into the top 19, technically speaking, because then there's a B final. So that would be my solution, if I could come up with one. But now we're on to race 2 in this particular event. I'm riding as Alex Martin. I won the first race as Cooper Webb. I did it all in first person, because really lately I've enjoyed playing this game in first person more than any other thing. This game does a pretty good job of not making me overly dizzy while I'm doing that. So this is a pretty cool experience to try to get the 250F to be amongst the big guys. Like Jeffrey Hurlings is already out front right now. There's a couple 450s in here. Gautier Paulin. Tonus just went down. Barbashev. Like all these guys are on 450s that I'm battling with roughly here, except for, no, they're all on 450s. This is what Amart looked like last year. I'm sure you guys remember if you're watching this video. But yeah, I'm just, oh man, I'm so pumped for the Motocross of the Nations, and Matterley Basin's a pretty good track for it. It's got a fantastic atmosphere from all accounts that I've ever heard of and everything that I can see of the track. This is not really the exact track per se that they'll be racing this weekend. I'll try to remember to include a link to a video that Dean Wilson and Tommy Searle did, kind of showcasing the track a little bit earlier this week, but the jumps seem to be a lot bigger, and they also made like a rhythm section out of the rollers that I just went through a couple corners ago. And the starting gate is also a drop-down BMX style starting gate this year, which is kind of unique, little added effect there. But otherwise, the layout, like the direction of the track is, I think, identical. It's just a few changes to the sections themselves and whatnot. But very much looking forward to it. It sounds like it's going to be a mud race this weekend, which, in my opinion, I think hurts the USA, because when it's a slosh fest, like almost anything can happen, and I've pretty much believed for a while that European riders are better when it rains anyway, because, I mean, to be honest, they grow up in atmospheres that are usually a little bit more rainy. And we've seen it before where it gets really gnarly and treacherous out, and, you know, the Euros kind of shine through. Roxon's won some mudders, Muscan as well, in the States. So doesn't necessarily help. I don't think, you know, if it's going to hurt anybody, it's probably going to hurt Seeley the most. He's grown up in California, you know, his whole life. He loves Supercross, so he's more of a dry, hard-packed type of guy. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to, you know, ruin USA's chances. I still think that USA won't win. I've talked about it in my MX Simulator video that I did earlier this week. I got the Dutch team. I don't know what you guys are picking, but I hope it's somewhat exciting. I am definitely rooting for the USA, no question about it, but it's pretty tough to see this team winning, especially if it starts raining. I think that pretty much gives like the final glimmer of hope they had out the door. Although who knows, you know, it rains and sometimes it gets wet, wild, and crazy, and gnarly, weird things start happening, and before you know it, bikes are blowing up, and the main team is having issues, or who knows what's going to happen. But I do know that I'm going to watch the crap out of this event this weekend. Like I said, this event is, I don't know why it is like a shining star for me. Maybe because I'm such a big fan of not only the USA Championship, but the GP series as well. And this is like the only real opportunity all year you see the two combine, like in full force. Like, yeah, not all the AMA riders are making it, but it's really like the best Americans that we can send, I guess, versus every best European pretty much. Because I think the only top 5 in the championship guys that are showing up at the event is Paulus Jonas. Is not going to make it. He was the MX2 world champion this year. He's from Latvia, and I'd like to thank the people in the video that I did earlier this week for explaining to me that Jonas apparently had a severe concussion at some point last year and was forced to, I guess, sit out this year's event because of that. I'm not too sure the logistics of that, if he's supposed to be getting some sort of examination done or some sort of physical training he's trying to go through, but it sounds like he hit his head pretty bad like a year ago, and it's just not sat right with him, and he was able to win the world title, but just wants to kind of take a break or something. But either way, most of the top Euros are going to be there. Cairoli won the MXGP world title. He'll be there. Obviously, Hurlings. And then behind that, Gautier Paulin was 3rd in the world championship. And then like Max Anstey had a great end of his season. He's there for Great Britain. Then you got guys like Evgeny Barbashev, who also a standout GP rider. It's just a full list of the best riders in the world, really, at least in my opinion. It sucks that we're not going to see the A team, USA team of like, Tomac, Baggett, and Osborne, or Tomac, Anderson, and Osborne, or something. Like, I'm really sad that Jason Anderson is unfortunately not able to make it this year for Team USA, because I hope that at some point in his life he gets redemption for that incident that happened in Moto2 last year, which I talked about in great length after last year, and I think it was a complete racing incident thing. Like, you know, that guy couldn't see him. Jason Anderson admits that, you know, he probably shouldn't have rolled the finish line that way, and a lesson learned. But man, oh man, if Jason Anderson only ever gets to ride for one USA Motocross Nations team in his life, and the one time he gets to race, he wins the only moto that he ever raced at the Motocross Nations and never gets to come back again. I mean, yeah, I guess one and done is a pretty, you know, badass way to go out, if you will. But, like, I think he deserves to come back and at least, you know, finish off a full set of motos and maybe even win it for the USA as like a full-blown redemption. Like, yeah, I got my head chopped off by getting landed on, but I still came back and won it for the USA eventually. So hopefully that works out. If it doesn't, you know, unfortunate for him, but I definitely think that he deserves a shot at redemption at some point down the line. But yeah, Matterley Basin, it seems like from some of the people that comment on my videos regularly, we do have quite a few people going to the event this weekend, so that's kind of cool. I hope you guys have a good time. I really wish I was going to be able to make it. And as mentioned, I'll be loading down my Twitter feed all day long on Saturday and Sunday pretty much. I'm going to wake up uber duper early both days this weekend to get all kinds of hype for it. I'm going to have probably my dad and my friend Brian come over. We're going to watch the race on Sunday together and make breakfast and all that cool business and just get overall hyped about it. Or at least I'm going to try to get them as hyped as I am about it. That is for sure. But yeah, cool experiences this weekend, I hope. And I hope everybody that is going has a good time and doesn't get too super soaked from all the rain that I'm hearing about this weekend. From what I've heard, it already rained today, which was Thursday. I guess, you know, obviously by the time you guys are watching this video, it'll not only be Friday, but it'll be Friday night in the UK. So it'll probably have rained at some point during Friday at the track. But we won't really see any true effects of how much that matters until Saturday morning when those guys go out for practice, if it's still raining and how deep the track is and everything like that. But I've seen this track muddy before. I don't think it's going to be the last time I've seen this track get covered in mud, and I'm pretty sure it holds up quite well. So we'll see how it throws down. But in any case, a mud race is going to make it oodles of noodles more interesting this weekend, that is for sure. Look at me taking USA to the victory, perhaps. I just need a good ride out of none other than Jason Anderson. And we're going to try to not get landed on in this final moto. But, I mean, the track is in a valley, so there will be some low standing points where the water can kind of pool up. But from what I can see of the actual landscape of the track, I've never been there, so I'm not going to swear to this, but I think that it, like, drains off to the... if behind me is the west, which, who knows, I'm just claiming random things, but if behind me on the gate right now is the west, it seems like the track drains off towards the west. Again, could be wrong, but that's just what I think is the case. Either way, I think that this track will do just fine when it comes to withstanding water and stuff like that. I'm going to try to do, excuse me, just fine taking Jason Anderson to victory. If you noticed when I was playing as Cooper Webb, one of the cool things that the Star guys did last year was their handlebars were the American flag. And that is just like such an intricate, cool little detail that I'm also pretty pumped that they've like managed to squeeze into this game as well. Because, you know, they couldn't get every bike perfect if even if they tried their hardest. But I think they got most of these teams right, the bike's good and all that business, so I like it. Are we going to have another Jeffrey Hurlings, Jason Anderson showdown? Which, by the way, was gnarly last year. That was way unexpected out of Anderson for me. I remember last year, you know, the whole case of him supposedly breaking a bone in the top of his foot on Saturday in the qualifying race. And I thought to myself, like, oh, here we go again. Like, USA's got some sort of bad luck demon on their side going on. And Anderson breaking his foot means that he's probably not going to ride that great on Sunday. And he comes out swinging in that moto and had pressure from Hurlings for 4 or 5 laps. my personal opinion was that if it went a couple more laps without this what happened, what ended up happened, then I think that Jeffrey Herlings would have passed Anderson. Anderson probably would have gotten him back, to be honest, though, because Anderson is known to be a pretty aggressive rider, and I wouldn't have had any doubts that he would have thrown it in deep on Herlings, no matter what Jeffrey's done in his career. But they definitely had a really good, solid battle, and unfortunately for Herlings' case, he lost the rear end down at the bottom of the swimming pool corner at Majora, and that spelled the end of his chance at winning the race, which ended up being awesome for Anderson because that was an epic ride to come through, and it was the first moto win for the USA since I'm trying to think if Barsha won a moto in 2015, because if he didn't, then it would have go back to 2011. Really? Yeah, it'd have to be 2011, because the USA did not win a moto at Teutschenthal. They did not win a moto at Kegums. They didn't obviously win a moto at Lommel, but they won the second moto at Saint Jean d'Angely in France in 2011 with Villopoto and Dungey going 1-2. So in this decade, the moto winners at the Motocross the Nations consist of, I think 2010, it was Dungey twice, and I forget who won the other moto. And then Villopoto once, maybe Barsha once. I'm trying to remember. I think he won the first moto at France. I think. I could be wrong, but I think maybe he did. And then Jason Anderson. Like, talk about a list. But that's pretty epic for, Anderson and everything he went through last year, of course. I think that this is one of the coolest features in MXGP3, honestly, because, they could totally get away with just being like, well, we made the official MXGP video game. Like, it's just the MXGP series. Don't need any of this extra fluff, but they go out, they get all this information and all these pictures of the other riders' bikes and just every little tidbit they can find to make the Motocross of Nations come to life again with all the official riders and stuff like that, which I think is cool, because then it adds the American element, which all of my fans, I feel like, are pretty excited to see, where you get Jason Anderson, Cooper Webb, and Alex Martin, who are not in the game otherwise, to be a part of the game in some way. So again, like I said, I think it's a pretty cool added aspect for sure. And I decided to do 5 laps today, not because I thought, oh, I'm going to be talking for so long, I should make a longer video, but because I'm trying to, at some point, do a video long enough, like 150% race distance, where the track just gets absolutely slaughtered out with ruts and stuff like that, and probably a rain race too in that. So I really want to see how gnarly the terrain deformation gets in this game, which, to be honest, doesn't seem like it gets all that bad, but that's really going to be the true test to see what it looks like after 20 laps on this track in the rain or something like that. Whoa, man, I got all kinds out of shape coming down the hill just there. 450s in this game also sound very interesting. This is my first in a video experience with 450s, except for when I played as Jake Weimer in the SMX Cup. But I feel like you didn't really get to hear a chance to hear the 450s rev out in that video, and they certainly sound pretty interesting, I would say. What I'd be curious to know, and I think is the case, is what every bike sounds like, though. Like, maybe even do like a bike testing gameplay at some point, where I just test out the stock bikes with no additives or anything and hear the differences, feel the differences in the bike and stuff like that, which probably won't be that crazy, but still be kind of cool to see. All right, cruising my way to victory with Jason Anderson right now. Gonna wrap up here in this final lap. So, as a final thought in this video, if you guys made it this far, let's hear like a full-blown, let's hear a top 5 rundown from you guys in the comment section below of what you think the finishing order will be at this year's Motocross the Nations in Great Britain. I will probably at some point on my Twitter post like my power rankings beliefs for this weekend before Saturday. Well, then I want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions as well, just to see where everybody's kind of thinking. I could tell from the comments in the last video that most people believe that the USA were not going to win it this year, which I'm happy to see that it's finally kind of turned a page where USA fans can appreciate how good the GP riders are and understand that even when we send our B or D or F team, whatever you want to call it, that it's not like the USA is so much better than everybody else. They're just going to dominate them no matter what. I would, of course, love to see our A team, but it's not the case. So, love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Who's going to win? Who's going to do well? I've already discussed in the last video about how I think it's going to be race 1 victory for Cairoli, and then race 2 and 3 will be Hurlings. And then the nations I talked about a little bit, but again, I'll post like some power rankings probably on my Twitter to kind of officially confirm who I think is going to win this weekend at least. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't be shy to like and subscribe, and hit us up in the comment section with your guys' picks, of course, and any questions or concerns you have that you want me to address. I can also answer those questions as well. But this has been the MXoN gameplay video 2016 team on 2017 Majora, Matterley Basin. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And for Calvin here on Starter Systems, I'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.